Hey guys, this is Justin, and this is the Moto G4 Plus. But wait a second, this other smartphone is the Moto G4 Play. So today, we're going to be taking a look at some key major differences between these two budget phones. So right off the bat, one of the most predominant differences between these two phones are their prices, as the Moto G4 Plus will land you right at $250 American, and you can pick up the Moto G4 Play for $150. Now, kicking off with the physical differences, it's nice to see that Lenovo decided to keep the classic Motorola dimple on both the G4 Plus and the G4 Play. This is a feature that I just find really unique to Motorola for most of their past Moto phones, and it's just something that helps to define this device. The Moto G4 Play and G4 Plus are built almost entirely out of plastic minus the glass screens, but where the differences do come into play are the screen sizes. So the Moto G4 Plus is rocking a full 5.5 inch screen, while the Moto G4 Plus is rocking a 5 inch screen. Now this definitely translates into resolution differences, which I'll touch on in a bit. So still along the lines of the screens of both phones, the Moto G4 Plus has a much more immersive screen as the bezels are much smaller as opposed to the Moto G4 Play. This means the image pops at you more when you're playing games or even watching videos on YouTube. Another difference that I did find while using both the Moto G4 Play and the G4 Plus is that on the Moto G4 Play, the screen feels much more recessed from the surface, so when you're moving or swiping your hand across the screen to navigate the phone, it just feels much less responsive than the G4 Plus. Also, with both screens, the Moto G4 Plus is rocking 1080p resolution, as on the other hand, the Moto G4 Play 720p. All in all, both screens on both phones perform extremely well, and something that really does impress me are the colors and the color reproductions. For the price you're paying to buy both these phones, you definitely won't be disappointed. Every latest and greatest new smartphone definitely has to have great performing cameras, and this is definitely no exception with the Moto G4 Play and the G4 Plus. That is, with good lighting. Now, to quickly get both phones' camera specs out of the way, the Moto G4 Plus's rear-facing camera is 16 megapixels with f2.0 aperture, as on the other hand, the Moto G4 Play has an 8 megapixel shooter and an f2.2 aperture. On the G4 Plus, it also has a laser-assisted autofocus system, as on the G4 Play it doesn't. Real-world usage is definitely much different in these two cameras than what's on paper, as both these cameras take very sharp and very great-looking images. With both the phones' megapixel differences, there's definitely a difference in sharpness, but overall, the photos just look really nice. With colors, they don't pop as much as I'd like, but it just seems very natural and pretty accurate looking. Where both the phone cameras do equally fall apart are in low light situations, as if the lighting isn't perfect, the camera's photos that are produced are somewhat atrocious with the amount of grain levels. There's a lot of image noise, and you definitely just have to use either the flash or just move to a better lit area. Overall, both cameras are pretty decent and satisfactory, but they definitely aren't the best when it comes to adapting to different shooting environments. Performance on both the Moto G4 Plus and the G4 Play is buttery smooth, as you get a Snapdragon 617 processor on the G4 Plus and a Snapdragon 410 on the G4 Play. With the addition of 2 or 3 or even 4 GB of RAM on the Moto G4 Plus and 2 GB of RAM max on the Moto G4 Play, scrolling in everyday tasks and using applications is extremely buttery quick. Also, with the Adreno 405 graphics card on the G4 Plus and the Adreno 306 graphics card on the G4 Play, gaming is really a great breeze. Now, on the Moto G4 Plus, the Snapdragon 617 does present some problems, as especially with gaming, there's definitely a heating problem, but everyday tasks such as emailing, watching videos on YouTube, or even just scrolling around the phone is completely fine. Now, on both price points, it's nice that they included a fingerprint scanner on the G4 Plus in the first place, but I'm kind of disappointed that they couldn't include it on the G4 Play. Even though it's at $150 and that would stretch it a little, if you checked out Emmanuel's video, he showed that the Blue Studio Touch has an actual fingerprint scanner, and that's only $100. Battery life was awesome on both phones, as the Moto G4 Plus comes with 3000 mAh of battery, and you get 2800 mAh on the Moto G4 Play. Now, with this battery capacity, I was able to last throughout probably I'd say mid-evening, and that wouldn't even be much of a problem for the G4 Plus as it has turbocharging. I wish this is something that came with the G4 Play, but other than that, the battery life is just awesome for both phones. If you're somebody that does a little more than average gaming and on-screen time, then your times for battery will definitely vary. Also, on the G4 Play, with its price of $150, I'm assuming that they weren't able to fit in a gyroscope unlike the G4 Plus, So this really means that you won't be able to use Moto tweak features such as chop to turn on the flashlight or twist to turn on the camera, which is unfortunate. Well, anyways guys, that does it for the main differences between the G4 Play and the G4 Plus, and especially the differences that I feel that make it really important to a smartphone user. Both phones are great, and they're especially cheap at a great price, but I would say go for the G4 Plus personally, as it's only a $100 jump and you get much more features such as Moto tweaks, a better camera, better battery life, and just overall a smoother experience. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, definitely hit the thumbs up and let me know what you thought of these phones and if you would pick up either of these phones or not in the comment section down below. Definitely subscribe as I have more cool tech content coming your way. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time.